Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of our new podcast series that's entitled Legends Create Legends. Just so there's no confusion, this is a 300 Fathers podcast. Super excited to be doing this podcast with you all. There's a lot of content that we're going to start bringing in 2020. We had started another podcast under the name 300 Fathers, but we just wanted to do something a little bit different here that would allow us or give us the flexibility to discuss a lot of the content that we wanted to share and everything just kind of sync up and go with the program. All right, so, for this first episode, this is a very impromptu episode, I'll be honest with you all. I just finished watching the 3-part series on Netflix for Aaron Hernandez, the former tight end for the New England Patriots. And I'm sure if you follow football, if you don't follow football, you guys know everything you guys know a lot about that story. There was a lot of insight, a lot of details given. Of course, it's a documentary, so of course we don't have his side of it. But there were a couple of things that were said in the documentary that really don't even pertain to his story per se. I kind of extrapolated some things regarding fatherhood, and I wanted to share it with you all here on this first podcast, this first episode, rather, for our new podcast, Legends Create Legends. Now, earlier we had started putting out some content regarding fatherhood, sports, and I thought the dynamic from what I had watched in the Netflix documentary kind of tied into what I wanted to do, what I wanted to share with you guys regarding this subject. And the subject revolves around forcing our children to play sports. I do believe that sports are vital for any child, boy, girl. Growing up, I played basketball, I played baseball, I played soccer. I did not play football. Having children now, and Clark is playing soccer, Logan is in gymnastics, and so I'm around youth sports now more than I ever have been, and I've just witnessed some things regarding sports that are a little bit alarming, and I know I have a lot of friends that have played football. I have family members that have played football, so it's not, it's the one sport. Football and basketball are really the two sports, rather, that I see this happening. And it's where you see a lot of parents, especially men, fathers, and moms, really forcing their children into a particular sport. Now, at the time of this podcast, I'm 44, and I remember growing up, it was before the internet, it was before all this other stuff, and, even our parents' generation, the way out or the way to a better life a lot of times revolved around getting involved with sports or going into the military. The thing that I want to just share with parents now, and just to realize, is that our children now have access to way more than we had back in the day, as they say. And what this is going to do, it's going to give them different avenues, different roads that they can travel in life. Let's just be honest, none of our kids really just go outside for the most part and play like they used to. Even when we're out and we're in public or we're just out, kids are grabbing for devices, which Kelly and I are trying to limit that, but, they're grabbing for devices. We have to encourage children to go out and play more, because now we have so many things in home that keep them in the house. And so in turn, you have parents that I see raising these children. They're throwing them out there to football. And again, if football is your sport, I like football. I definitely believe in talking to family and close friends who have played the sport and just knowing what I know about the game myself. It's definitely an amazing sport that teaches you so much as far as mental toughness, physical toughness. It teaches you team sports, just the whole camaraderie around a team. But even with all of that being said, I believe to really, and you can say this really about any sport, especially with football, to really elevate yourself in that sport, you have to be 100% committed. I think it is a sport that if you kind of halfway do it or you're halfway involved with it, you can get hurt because you're going to be lined up against somebody who's going 120% and you're out there going 60, 70%. And I don't think that's good for anything, but particularly in contact sports. But one of the things that really kind of tweaks me is when I see, and I already know when I said I was going to do this episode, I said I'm probably going to get some inboxes from some people that really just are going to tell me I'm wrong. But I see coaches almost berating children. I mean, just yelling at them. And we're not talking about teenagers, 16, 17, 18. We're talking about like 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds. The coaches are just screaming on them. I mean, I've seen coaches cussing kids out. And in my mind, I'm thinking as a father, there's no way I'm going to let another man come at my child that way. And I know we're trying to teach them, but I also know the temperament of my children. And you can see these kids look almost dejected when they're going through this. And some kids really take to it. You can tell they don't, it doesn't really bother them at all. But some kids, it's almost like their spirits are being broken with this. And I mean, if you guys are out there and if I'm just totally off with it, just let me know. I know the comments are going to come anyway. I don't really care about that, but I want this to be kind of an open dialogue. And again, this is kind of circling back to what I saw in this Aaron Hernandez documentary, that actually it was out of the 3 parts, this took place at the very end. And I'm going to tell you what it is, and it gives none of the documentary away, so you don't have to worry about that. It was just a statement that was made. And so what I want to do is to start a conversation where parents are learning how learning how to identify what it is that's in your child at an early stage, and then mold and shape them to go down that path that's going to best serve them in life. Stop projecting your wants, your needs onto your children because maybe you didn't go as far in your sports career, whether it's basketball, football, whatever the sport is. And so, it's just like me. Even though I played sports, there's a 12-year age difference between me and my next brother, so he was out of the house. And I pretty much grew up in a single-family home with my mom. And so when I came home, I didn't really have that push. All right, you need to go outside, you need to work on this, you work on that. So I pretty much just played when I was in school, and so it was a little bit more casual than some of the other athletes that I was playing with. And you can kind of tell they were getting a little bit more. But, and I think that's the case with some of these parents out here. Maybe their careers didn't go quite as far as they thought they should, or maybe their careers did reach the pinnacle. They play, Division I, Division II. They play on the professional level, and they want that for their children because, honestly, what I see taking place is we are building the identity of our children around sports. And although that's not totally bad, it's just not the complete world that we live in anymore. If you go, I have a magazine right here. And I know you guys can't see this on the podcast, but for those that are watching on this Facebook Live, I actually bought this magazine. I don't even know if you can see this. I bought this magazine a couple of weeks ago, and it's the Forbes 400 richest people in America. And, again, this isn't about money. This is about influence and impact. And to me, these are the people that actually are changing our world, changing our society. And it's really interesting to look on here and you see how many of those 400 billionaires actually that are in this country, 400 billionaires, how many of them are actually changing the world through sports? Again, this isn't dogging sports or anything like that, but I just want us to keep things in perspective as we're kind of, forcing our children down certain paths. In particular, I know even with my own 2 children, Logan, my daughter, is a natural athlete. I mean, she's physically, she's just natural with it. I think she'll be one of those types of people where you could pretty much teach her the sport and she won't have any physical limitations to it. My son, on the other hand, is super analytical. He loves playing soccer, but he's more, I'm gonna figure out the angles, I'm gonna figure this out. He's more straight-laced about it. He's not as fluid when it comes to just going out there and going after it. He's got to have a lot of things explained to him, which is cool. It's no problem. But even as a father, I'm looking at this like, okay, look, my daughter's this way, my son's this way. I definitely want them to be involved in sports. They will be involved in sports because, again, it just teaches them so much. But I can't I let him make the decision. Okay, son, what is it that you want to do? What is it that because when it comes to playing, no kid is just going to want to go out and, I just feel like running today. I just want to go out and I feel like getting tired. Most kids will be like, Dad, I'm tired or whatever. But if I can help him identify, okay, son, if this is a sport that you like, we need to get your body ready so that when you get out on the field, when you get out on the court, the only thing that you're concentrating on is your skill level. You've built your endurance up, so you don't have to worry about that being an issue. Now we can work on other things. So now I'm just trying to, massage it in a way that I can get him, all right, this is what he likes. The stuff that he doesn't like is the stuff that he really doesn't understand he's going to need. So that's my job, and to help develop him. So getting back to, I'm bringing this full circle now. In this Aaron Hernandez documentary on Netflix, it's something like Inside the Mind of a Killer or something like that. They interviewed Patriots owner Robert Kraft. He had to testify at the trial, but then they also they pulled an interview segment that he had done, I guess, on a news show or something else. And I'm paraphrasing here, and probably when we put up the final production of the podcast, I'll try to cut the audio in. But he says something to the point that right before him there was a gentleman who was a rookie. He played, and I remember when this happened, he played, and after the first year, after he saw, the brain issues and stuff like that, he quit like after a year, and it just kind of shocked the whole league. And right behind that, they were interviewing Robert Kraft, and he was saying how he's really happy on where the game has progressed, the safety measures that are being taken, et cetera, et cetera. And there's one statement that he made after that really threw a red flag up. And he pretty much directed it at mothers, which I thought was interesting. He said to the mothers out there. He didn't say mothers and fathers. I guess that's a different story, and we can get into that later. But he pretty much alluded to the fact of, if you want your son to develop into something special, if you want your son to be special, something right around that is what he said, then you should let him play football. And I think it kind of threw a red flag to me because, again, it was one of those things like, wow, we're wrapping up our identity in sports, and there's so much more that these kids have available to them. Again, nothing wrong with football at all, nothing wrong with basketball. If these are the sports you love, there's so many other sports out there. I love basketball. Basketball it's my favorite sport. But we just have to be careful that we're not projecting too much of our own beliefs onto our children and helping them just to develop into who it is that they want to be. And if your child loves playing sports, or maybe they don't like playing sports, maybe, they want to do this, encourage them to play sports, because I think they should have that team involvement in learning how to work with other people. However, follow them in their path. We should be making sure our kids are coding in different things. These are the things that are going to shape their lives and change the future. So I'm interested to know what you all think about this when it comes to specifically children in sports. If you're watching this on a replay online, drop some comments below. You can also inbox me. It's not whatever is more comfortable for you. But let's keep this conversation going, because I know this won't be the last time that we address this, but I definitely wanted to get the conversation going. Look, if you want to email us now for this Legends Create Legends podcast, email us at legends@300fathers.com. Again, that's legends@300fathers.com. And again, this podcast, it's a 300 Fathers podcast. We just wanted to name it something that we felt would be more in line with what we wanted to do as a brand, as a culture. That's all I got for you guys. So until the next one, you guys take care. God bless.